Hey guys, it's Paul with Tool Metrics. I've got a neat project for you today. I'm going to make these two curvy cutting boards that are inverse matches of one another. This is cherry and maple, nice contrasting woods, both good close grain woods for cutting boards. We're going to start out with a couple of blanks, 13 inches wide, 19 inches long, and about 7/8 to an inch thick. The exact thickness isn't critical. The size dimensions aren't critical. Make yours the size that you want them, but make sure that when you start out, they're the same thickness so that you can get good alignment when you're gluing them up after the cuts are made. So with the blanks set up and ready to go, let's go ahead and get started. All right, first we're going to stick these together with some double-sided tape. I use carpet tape, but any double-sided tape will do. You don't want these moving during the bandsaw cut, so don't be shy with the tape. Then you're going to draw the curvy lines. Now I use a template because I make a lot of these, but if you're going to just make one or two, you can just draw them freehand using a French curve or something like that to get the curves looking like you like them. The shape isn't too important. You just want the curves to be not too tight because then it'll be harder to follow that line on the bandsaw. All right, I'm at the bandsaw and just want to go over some of the setup points here because setup on this cut is absolutely critical and it's going to make or break this project for you. So first you want to have your guides set up and tuned properly. If you haven't done that in a while, it's a good time to set the spacing between the guide and the blade. Make sure you've got the guides aligned properly, the blade is rotating properly, positioned properly on the wheel, etc. The reason that it's so critical on this project is you want to have the blade sitting straight up and down in orientation during the entire cut. Any twisting or flexing during the cut and you're going to find a gap in your joint because of that alignment, and you just don't want that. So take your time, get the setup right. One more point, the guides or the lines that we're following here really are just guidelines. Don't worry about hitting them exactly or even staying really close to them. What's way more important is one smooth continuous cut, and if you get off track, don't try to back up for sure and then make an adjustment, and don't try to harshly quickly adjust to get back to that line. Just smooth gradual movement through that cut and you're going to have a joint that fits great. We're going to plane these down and you're never going to see the line again after that, so no one will know that you missed it by a lot. You're going to know that I'm going to miss it. Try to not be too harsh on me about that, but these are going to turn out great if you just follow those guidelines. All right, so let's get started and make the cut. All right, here's a moment of truth. If we've done the setup properly and made the cuts well executed, these should come together like nice puzzle pieces with virtually no gap. I'll accept anything of a 32nd inch or less. We can clamp that up, a little extra glue in there and some sanding dust. If you have large gaps, don't try to fix this with sanding or with a plane or a scraper. This is a hard problem to troubleshoot with adjustments to the joint. So this came together nicely. I'm going to proceed on, glue this up and finish these boards. When you're gluing these up, you may want to use just a little more glue than you normally would because you've got an uneven surface. A bandsaw cut is sort of rough, so you're going to want to make sure that you've got plenty of glue in there so that you get adequate squeeze out. And then from there, it's normal clamping pressure. Make sure you get good alignment of the three pieces so that you don't have to do much planing and sanding and that you don't lose much thickness on your board. There are two camps on cleaning up glue squeeze out. One camp says wait till it sets up for a half hour or so and scrape it off with a paint scraper. And the other camp says take a damp cloth and wipe it off right after you finish gluing up the pieces. I don't really care. I've done both. What I'm doing here is just wiping it off with a damp cloth. We're going to run these through the planer, so we're going to definitely capture any glue squeeze out either way. You won't have any blemishes that show up through the finish. Then you want to run them through a planer, get all of the ridges planed out of there, make them nice and smooth and flush all the way across. Then you're going to take it over to the miter saw and trim them to length. You can do that on the table saw with a sled as well. Then round over the edges. I like to use a router table for that with a 1/4 inch round over bit. Then you're going to sand the heck out of them. Start at 80 grit to remove any planer marks. Take them all the way up to 320 grit and then a final hand sanding. Then finally it's time to apply some finish. I like to use a butcher block conditioner, which is essentially a combination of beeswax and mineral oil. You could also use just straight mineral oil, but I find that that requires more frequent refinishing. To maintain the cutting boards after they're done, put some of this butcher block conditioner on them once in a while when it's needed. I usually hit them about once a month or so. And don't ever put them in the dishwasher. It's hand wash only because the heat from the dishwasher could crack these and you wouldn't want to see that. Well, I'm really pleased with how these turned out. Fun project. I hope you give it a try. Meanwhile, please subscribe to the Toolmetrics channel. We've got a lot more content coming and it'd be great to have you along. Thank you.